All right, so we are now recording. I need to then make Donald the host, which he now is. So I'll just say a few words. We're really happy to have again one of our Math Alliance pre-doctoral scholars who's earned a PhD joining us to tell us a little bit about himself. Our interviewer is Professor Donald Cole, emeritus from University of Mississippi, an epic figure in the civil rights movement. And we're joined today by Marco Lopez, who got his undergraduate degree, if I remember right, at Arizona, and then a master's at Northern Arizona, is that correct? And then you got your PhD at North Texas, is that correct?
Yeah,
I have that right? Yeah. All right, so, and I'm gonna get off so you guys can talk, and I look forward to seeing the result. Thank you very much, both of you.
Okay.
Thank you, David, and thank you for setting this up for us. Good morning, Marcos. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. And it's a couple of minutes after 12 my way, so I should say good afternoon now, I think.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock here too. So
okay, all right. Okay, we're very good. Don Cole again, and I've had the privilege of interviewing you on today, and it is a privilege indeed. So thank you for agreeing to do this. And I want to ask you a few questions about your perspectives and your experiences on your road to getting your terminal degree. And some of the questions are going to be direct questions, and some will be open-ended questions that allow you to elaborate and talk as much as you want. So don't feel hurried at any time. The whole process should take no more than an hour, but we want for you to share in hopes that this is going to help someone who's behind you and wanting to do some of the things that you've done and accomplish some of the things that you've already accomplished. So is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, and you're coming in loud and clear. And so maybe for beginners, you can tell me a little bit about yourself, maybe a short bibliography about you in terms of your timeline, where you're from originally, and all the way maybe through your degree, some of the schools that you've gone through, etc. So give me a little timeline on you.
Yeah, so I was born in Arizona, although I grew up in Mexico. And I did my schooling through 9th grade in Mexico. Then beginning in 10th grade, I began schooling in the US, in Arizona. Eventually, as David mentioned, I got my bachelor's at University of Arizona in mathematics, master's in mathematics at Northern Arizona University, and then my PhD at University of North Texas in discrete dynamical systems. Yeah, and currently I finished my PhD in 2018, and since then I've been a postdoc at Wake Forest University.
Okay, well, congratulations! Not long ago that you got that degree, and it has taken you from one end of the country to the other.
Yes.
yeah, which is good. So, so I should suspect that Wake Forest, where you are now, that the terrain is different, the climate seems a little different and whatnot for you, but
yeah, it's very different, complete opposite of Arizona.
Yeah,
especially in terms of humidity, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Field of Dreams conference you've had opportunity to attend and be a part of, and so I'd like for you to maybe just talk about the Alliance for a few minutes. Tell me how you ended up getting associated with it, how you heard of it, and if there are a few names associated with it as well, you can mention those.
Yeah.
And in particular, some things that the Alliance has done for you on a personal note.
Sure. Yeah. So when I was an undergrad at Arizona, I had a great faculty advisor, academic advisor, William Velez, or Bill Velez, and he really supported my career, or my yeah, my career plan, basically, which was eventually to get a PhD. And I think he was the one who introduced me to the Alliance when I was still an undergrad. Um, and then one of the biggest, most impactful parts of the Alliance for me was a summer REU program that I did in 2009 at the University of Northern Iowa. And there, my research mentor was Professor Douglas Mupasiri. And so I worked on a research project there. It wasn't the first REU I did, but it was definitely one of the most impactful, because it was a really good experience. I learned a lot. Um, Perhaps I was a bit lucky in that our research project was also pretty successful. We eventually published a paper in it, um, and it was overall just a very good, uh, very highly motivating experience for me. Uh, that open up other opportunities, like presenting at conferences and stuff, and meeting even more people. But yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. And you've mentioned a couple of big names there in terms of the Alliance. Bill has been with the Alliance for a good while, and he's influenced lots and lots and lots of individuals. And he's still with the Alliance and guiding it. And so you've had some great mentors, and even that Northern Iowa
Yes.
as well. Uh-huh. And I'm glad that you mentioned the REU program. There are a number of them around the country, and they turn out to be very important.
Mhm.
And so, if anyone can have opportunity to take advantage of such a program, then they should. And you are good evidence of that one. And so I was really surprised, because not all the time that it happens that you end up with the paper being published from it. And who were you working with at that time?
So I was working with two other students, Michael Newsom and Rudy. I forget his last name at the moment. Rudy. Oh, I can check his last name, but
No, that's quite okay.
so it was us three. We were the three undergraduate students, and Professor Mupasiri was our mentor, and we also had a graduate student at Northern Iowa who helped us also quite a bit. His name was Paul.
Mhm.
I also forget his last name,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Okay. So yeah, you've been under some great tutelage as well. Okay, and wow, of course, one of the things that is very impressive is, Marcos, just the fact that here you are with the PhD in hand, and paper so behind you, going on starting your professional career. And so, as I kind of think about it, with you with a PhD in mathematics, you must be a genius. How do you respond to that when people see you and think that and say that?
Right. So it's something that happens very frequently, and I try to tell them that I honestly think it's not about genius, but just about, well, several things. One of them is just liking math and being curious about it, and another thing is about perseverance, and another thing is luck, like in my case, coming across some great mentors. um, um, so
Mm.
but I also try to say it in a way that doesn't sound as being just um, too modest, and I try to bring I try to make my point across that I'm being honest when I say this, right? And it's really anyone who just likes the subject can seriously consider such a path for themselves.
Okay, yeah. And that's certainly what I wanted to get out of that question. You know, if you have a love for the subject area and willing to work hard, uh,
Yes,
then these things can be achieved.
right.
Um, and you ran into some good mentors, and there are lots and lots of good mentors that's out there. You
Mhm.
just you just kind of named a few, but I've heard others say certainly along the way that that hard work and that love for the subject area. So I certainly appreciate you verifying that.
Yeah,
And so even though it's some ingenuousness there certainly on your part, it doesn't necessarily have to be all genius.
right.
Yes, okay. Okay. Um, well, Marco, one of the things that we wanted to do with these interviews, we want to take them and we want to put them online. And it's our hope that a number of people will be watching these interviews. We hope that some little grade student who's 10 years old will be watching. We hope that some 15-year-old will be watching it. We hope that some students who are just entering college would be watching it. We uh, just hope somebody who's interested in mathematics and a career in mathematics will be watching it. And so, of all those contingency groups that I've just mentioned, maybe just pick one out: a college student, a 10-year-old student, international student,
Mhm.
a minority student, whatever, and just pick one of those contingencies or age groups out, and tell me what would you say to them who's interested in a career in mathematics, and they are young and don't know the field just yet. What's some things that you would say, advice that you would give?
Yeah, so I think maybe I would pick like a 15-year-old student,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
because personally that was the age for me when I realized that I really liked math. Um, and at the moment, actually, math wasn't the only subject. I really liked physics too. And at that point, I thought I would eventually get a PhD in physics. It turned out to be uh, math instead, but maybe the difference is not so big in either case. Um, my approach in terms of career decisions was to pursue whatever I like doing the most. And this is a difficult decision for many young people who are very worried about things like the job market and income potential and things like this. But I think, which are of course important, but I think the most important thing is to pursue something that you like. And for me, it was the exact sciences, so either math or physics. And I really don't regret doing that. And and Also being open to changing your mind. Maybe you realize you didn't like a certain area of math so much and you like another one more, or you might like an entirely different field instead. And I think um, it's healthy and it's okay to be open to changing direction a little bit throughout your career path. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Thank you for that answer. You said several things that I'd like to elaborate and expound on, just a bit. Well, first of all, I kind of call physics applied math anyway. So,
Right.
so your love for physics
Theoretical
and
physics.
math is the same. And you remind me of when I was young. I too loved physics. And I ended up, I think, doing maybe a dual degree in math and physics. But like you, fell in love with the mathematics a little bit more than the physics. And so I ended up as a mathematician. And my physics teacher always calls me a physicist naturally. But at any rate, one of the things that you said that's certainly worth repeating is pursuing the career that you love, pursuing what you like. Because I think that many times today, people sort of look at the economic side of life and so pursue what's economically feasible or that give great economic gain. But somewhere up in there, if you pursue what you love, then the economic part, the financial part, will take care of itself.
Yeah.
So I certainly appreciate that part. And one other thing that I think that you said, I think is worth elaborating on again, and that is being open. Do you realize that a lot of people don't really realize how big and gigantic mathematics is? How many different areas of mathematics? And I almost remember feeling guilty about not liking one class, but loving another class in math. But that can easily be, and so you sort of found your love. Which reminds me, what area do you research in now?
I do discrete dynamical systems and or mainly, but also at the intersection of discrete dynamical systems and ergodic theory and fractal geometry.
Okay.
Which are all related, yeah.
That's right. And who's to say that this won't lead to a totally different area of mathematics?
Right. Yes.
Right. Or you might work in that area for a while and then just discover another area that you'd like to work in for a while.
Yes.
So, and so you will certainly take your own advice in terms of being open.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So we appreciate those. You have lots of accolades associated with you. You have very accomplished, and you've gotten lots and lots of degrees, and somehow you end up with a PhD in mathematics. And you already admitted that you're not 100% genius, but but the hard work was in there as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
But just philosophize for me for a moment and think back. And I know that these are all questions that you hadn't been privy to and hadn't had the chance to think about them for. But think back for a moment and tell me when you decided that, at last, I'm a mathematician. Were there any major points or any parts in your life that sort of reflected, well, now I'm a mathematician?
Yeah, that's hard to answer because the process has been very gradual, right? So it wasn't like an abrupt moment where now I'm in this category and all of a sudden I'm in the mathematician category. But I would say maybe after finishing my PhD, I felt, okay, now I should proceed with my research in a more independent way than I had been doing before. Of course, not in a completely independent way, but I still have mentors, but in a little bit more independent way. And I feel I'm in a better position to mentor undergraduate students, for example. So that was a big pivotal moment, I guess, in terms of feeling like I am a mathematician. But even earlier than that, when I began grad school, for example, I felt I was well on my way to doing serious research, even though the completion of a PhD was still far away in the future. It I felt like I was now engaging more in more advanced research, I guess. Um, so it's been a gradual process. There's been several points along my time where I felt I've grown in some way. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. And that was a tough question. It's probably one that doesn't have a single single answer to it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there was lots of moments that you can reflect back on now that
Mm-hmm.
which you're quite proud of. And that leads me to my next question that uh, I wanted to ask. That's a little more personal, and feel free that if you don't want to answer, then that's okay. And if you want to answer and go off into as much detail, less detail as you want. But as we sort of look at the social climate of today and what's going on here in America, we probably should at least have this as part of the interview in the social climate and the debate and the death of George Floyd and police brutality and whatever that we is sort of facing our country. And here you are as a individual who could somehow be characterized a certain way, and simultaneously you have a PhD in mathematics. So I don't know if it's a question, but if I could phrase it, I just ask for you to comment, if you will, upon the social climate uh, and the fact that here you are as having a terminal degree in mathematics. And so somehow in your response or your answer, I want you to add something in terms of mathematics. You can say, oh, I know how to model the whole social situation from a mathematical point of view, which is probably impossible. Or you could, just sort of, reflect back upon when you're coming up, and then, socially as well. But at any rate, because of the climate, let's just tackle that question for one moment.
Yeah. So I think the current social situation has at the very least forced us to think more deeply um, ab- about racial tensions in our country and other kinds of social tensions, if we weren't thinking about them already. But definitely everyone has been forced to think about this and consider this situation in their own lives. And I think this is a um, um, for someone who gives classes at a university level. um, I think we may be seen as role models by some students. So we have to be more conscious about the role that we take also outside of the classroom. And so I view this, even though I have many questions myself that I haven't figured out, it's I think that our position as professors um, uh, allows us to be active role models, basically, not only in mathematics or inside the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. Um, Even when we don't intend to be role models, the students may simply just uh, view you as one, or just pay attention to what you do. And so I think that's really uh, empowering, and also a little humbling, and something we should think about carefully, how we move forward in that context of teaching in the classroom. Um, I I personally already from many years ago, but even more now, I've been looking forward to mentoring undergraduate students and just envisioning like a more diverse mathematical community. And because I know there's a lot of talent out there that is not really being tapped, who might not consider mathematics as a serious career option, for example. And I think there's a lot of uh, work that I could be doing in that regard. Um, yeah, I think at the moment that's all.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for sharing. You know, I know that that was a tough something to share on, but because where our nation defines itself, it's probably worth having in the interview.
Yeah, definitely.
And as I kind of continue to dig off into the personal side of Marco, let me ask something else. And again, you don't feel comfortable in answering, that's okay. But I'd like for you to tell me of a mathematical instance for which reflects, I don't know, maybe a devastating time in your life, a part where you almost felt like giving up on your career in mathematics. And but I want to buffer that with by giving you the opportunity to tell me of a moment for which you're awfully proud of in your mathematical career as well. So from one extreme to the other.
Right.
I think that could be very helpful to someone who's watching this interview.
Right. So for the first part of the question, I guess the one of the most most difficult moments for me, um, I guess it was around my senior year in undergrad, where there were very serious health problems in my family, not with me personally, but my mom had been diagnosed with lupus. And at that time she spent maybe 2/3 of the whole year in the hospital, and it was just juggling academics and a part-time job and family issues was seemed almost overwhelming, and it was not a very conducive environment to thrive mathematically, um, at least. And so that's the period I that immediately comes to mind whenever I have to think about a difficult period in my career. In fact, I was a double major at the time in physics and mathematics, and this was my senior year. I was my the only physics class left I needed to complete in order to obtain the degree was the advanced lab, the second advanced lab in the curriculum. And because it was my last semester, it was a very difficult semester for me personally. I was not able to complete it, so I only finished with a minor in physics instead of a major in physics. And maybe I shouldn't attribute that only to that um, episode, this difficult period with my family, but that was definitely a major reason why I did not complete the physics major. Um, and that was kind of well, it was a big downer for me, right? Because I my goal had been to complete the two majors. So so that one was that. On the other end, one of the most proudest moments, I might say, was, or at least more fulfilling moments, was working on this research project that I mentioned a little earlier in northern Iowa. Um, I was able to just focus on this project and enjoy it, not just work on it because I had to, but because I genuinely enjoyed it. And it was a moment where I could really learn a lot at a relatively fast rate and be able to contribute in a way that I felt significant to the project. And I think that was a very proud moment for me. And and that was maybe one of the earliest, uh, pre-doctoral uh, moments that gave me a lot of confidence. Also, another one was in my master's program where I think I had a difficult first semester in my master's program, and then I felt like in the second year I improved a lot more. I became mm, I felt I had matured a lot as a mathematician at that moment, and I would say that that was the moment I felt prepared to undertake doctoral studies. And I remember there was a professor at the time who I think noticed this, and he made a comment uh, about this, and he encouraged me. And that very simple comment he made, it was just sort of an offhand comment he made in while we bumped into each other in the copy room or something. And so it was very casual, but it was very powerful for me. Also, it was very encouraging. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you much. If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Oh, I think I've matured a lot about how to be a more independent learner and a better learner. So if I could have done some of the things earlier on, so in terms of study habits and things like that that I didn't actually learn until graduate school, if I could have done them my freshman year in college, I think I would have ended up in a much better position. But uh, mm, yeah, I think I became a much better learner in graduate school and a more independent learner.
Okay, Marco, I wouldn't ask myself that same question because I think I, at this age, I'd have too much to do all over again.
Yeah.
Far too much. But at any rate, let me continue along some of the personal lines
Mhm.
and take me back to your growing up, your childhood community, and you know, sort of tell me about it, about you growing up, and now that you are a professional mathematician, you're probably on a different spectrum. And how would you integrate those two? How do you, as a professional mathematician, be somehow able to reach back at this community that you left and elevate them, etc. So first of all, just kind of describe that community that you grew up in, and then kind of make some connection with where you are now.
Yeah. So I mentioned a little earlier that I grew in I guess, a binational context, right? I grew up in Mexico. I did my schooling there until uh, through 10th, no, through ninth grade. And it was at that time, I think in ninth grade, when I realized I really liked math. I was lucky to have some really great science teachers. So I really got into chemistry, physics, astronomy, math. Um, and that was sort of the context growing up. I also um, had a few friends um, who share this passion with me. Also, my dad is a chemical engineer by training, and I think I saw him as a as a as a figure that I could look up to in terms of learning more about science, or in terms of looking at science as a viable career path. Um, and then soon after that, I began schooling in the U.S., which was honestly not much different for me. Um, Still, I continued having good math teachers, and I continued uh, developing my passion for math in that context as well. And I would say, um, even though my K through 12, let's say, education was not great, it I still had a few great teachers that made a big difference. Um, yeah. So right now, I don't know how to answer your second question. I don't know how to reach back, but it is something I have actually asked myself in the past. But it's not easy. How do you reach back to that same community? One way I've done something like that is, in the summer of 2018. I taught some summer courses for high school students in Mexico, and these were students from modest backgrounds, who like science and who are really good students, really great students with a lot of potential. And there is a program called Clubes de Ciencia, which is a summer program for high school students in Mexico, and now it has expanded to other countries also. But I was part of this program in 2018, and it is the only time I have worked with high school students, and the high school students I worked with, I think, reflected uh, my own experience as a high school student, kind of. So I was very happy to work with them.
Yeah, you were. You mentioned the word role model a little
Mhm.
earlier, and being seen that way, and you're a great role model,
Thank you.
and you're going to be a great mentor to lots and lots of people, and raise another great generation of mathematicians likened unto yourself. We've had opportunities to sort of have you to look back, reflect a little bit, and sort of tell how you got to where you are today. Let me just maybe ask a few futuristic questions and ask, where do you see yourself, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years hence? And what trajectory do you see Marcos sort of carving out in time?
Yeah. So, I would like to stay in academia because I love this job environment, and just the nature of the job. I love teaching as well as doing research in the academic setting. Um, but beyond that, I cannot be very precise about where I see myself. I just, maybe in the near future, I see myself continuing on to either another postdoc or a tenure track job. I would be happy with either, actually. Um, I don't even know uh, in which country that might be, because I'm also very open and I'm also very curious about traveling. So, I would happily take an opportunity to at least temporarily move abroad to work. And um, so so I just see myself continuing the work that I've been doing, improving and maybe besides teaching and research, adding a third component that I haven't incorporated completely yet, which is the mentoring part. Um, I haven't had the chance to work with many undergrad students. Um, the only exception was this program that I mentioned with working with high school students. Um, but wherever I go, whether it is in the U.S. or some other country, I hope to do that. Um, yeah, eventually I like to end up in a tenure track job, but I have no idea, and I think I cannot afford the luxury to just choose right in this job environment. So,
Okay.
so I remain flexible.
Okay, as you were talking there, Marcos, it certainly became clear the opportunities that are provided by your degree. You know, the fact that you got a degree now can kind of give you some opportunities for different things in the future, and that's one of the great things about having the degree for sure. But one other thing that you said that I want to reflect upon a little bit is that your love for academia. Because I also realized, you know, well, your father was a chemical engineer, whatever, that there are some government business uh, positions out there that might even pay you a lot more than academics can pay. But why is it that you would prefer to pass up that additional financial benefits to remain in academia?
Yeah, so I think once you cover your, yeah, like you mentioned, a job in industry will probably pay a lot more. Not to mention that they might be easier to find. But
Mm-hmm.
I think after you cover your basic necessities and maybe a little bit more than your basic necessities, the income portion of the job is not so important anymore. There's kind of a diminishing returns aspect to this, right? So uh, with an academic job, I feel I can live comfortably enough to not care too much about any bigger increments in salary. Of course, I would be happy to. Anyone would be happy to have any increment, but it's not the most important thing. And if I move to an industry job, I would feel unsure of whether it will be fulfilling for me or not. So maybe it would be, but I just don't feel. I feel like the academic job is a much better um, route. And even though the academic job can also be stressful at times, of course,
Yeah.
but I also think it's more rewarding. I definitely enjoy being in the classroom in front of the students, um, which we haven't really been able to do this year because of the pandemic. But
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, eventually, we will be able to go back to that setting. And I just enjoy the interaction with the students and seeing students enjoy this subject. Right, it doesn't always happen, but when we're able to inspire someone, that's one of the things I find very fulfilling. um, yeah.
Well, that's certainly what we wanted at as you sort of went to the Field of Dreams. You might remember that we would introduce you to industry, but we would introduce you to academia quite a bit as well. And certainly we love to see individuals go into to academics because you can influence so many more individuals there. And that's part of my story as well. I did spend maybe the first 5 years post PhD in the industry, and I enjoyed it. every moment of it. But when I reflected upon the number of people that I was influencing and the number of people that I was helping to go on to the next stage, I realized that academia could provide that a little better for me, and that was one of the things that I wanted. So you echoed some of those things, and so you're on the right track, and feel and just know that you're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked for a while, and we wanted individuals to get to know you on a personal basis. Those who watch this interview, and we asked a number of questions. Were there any questions that I didn't ask that need to be asked? Is there any other thing about Marco that needs to be brought out that perhaps none of my questions brought out thus far? Are there any closing remarks that you might want to give?
Not any very deep remarks, just maybe some practical ones that come to mind. That
Sure.
I remember I struggled a lot navigating the application process or for graduate school, and one sort of short piece of advice would be to find a mentor that could be your own academic advisor, like it was for me, but it doesn't have to be. I also had other mentors who can help you navigate that process. And that includes also graduate students themselves, not only senior faculty, but I think they are a great resource in helping one navigate the application process, because I think many people can get lost in that process and may be discouraged or not do it the best way they could, so that they may not get into the graduate program that they like if they don't navigate that process successfully, or if they don't start the process early enough. Especially, for example, letters of recommendation are an important part of the process, and that's a process that needs to begin very early on by getting to know your professors a little better, or getting your professors to know you a little better. Um, and and that's something that, I don't know, it's just one of the first things that jumps to my mind in terms of where some people may get lost in the system. And then once you're into a graduate program, it's extremely important to find a good support system in your community, right? So that could be fellow grad students in your program or in your university, different programs in your university, or anybody else in your community. And just that'll make the whole experience much more enjoyable.
Okay, awfully good advice. In particular, finding mentors so that you won't have to go through any parts of this process, by yourself. And sometimes the process can be a little overwhelming, but if you just had somebody, whether it's fellow colleagues or whatever, to tell you, oh yeah, this is daunting. I mean, that helps in its own right. You might think that it's that you just run into a snap hole just yourself, but everybody else has run into the same one. So whether it's fellow students, whether it's faculty or whatever, finding a good mentor is key through the whole process.
Yeah, it was definitely key for me. So I think that's why I mentioned it. So.
Okay. Well, you've done well, and we're so proud of you. And I thank you so much for taking the time off to do this interview. Believe you me, it's going to help lots and lots of folk.
Well, I enjoyed it. It's my pleasure.
Okay. I look forward to following your career and to see you in those 10 or 15 years that we've kind of talked about progress.
Yeah.
And I know, so thank you again, and the best wishes with everything.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.